Welcome to Seltzer Squad, the podcast about staying sober in the city, with your hosts, Kate Sander and Jes Valentine.
Did y'all know that you can get extra Seltzer Squad content at patreon.com/Seltzer Squad?
Yeah, Kate, they can get early access to our episodes. They can get videos of us and even bonus episodes every month.
That no one else gets.
No one else gets it. Only our patrons. So this is truly a labor of love for us. So if you could help support us, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, we love you, Squad.
We love you, Squad.
Sign up at patreon.com/Seltzer Squad. Jess, are you listening to any good books?
Right now, I'm actually listening to an Audible exclusive podcast.
Ooh, I'm listening to Blackout by Sarah Hepola.
Oh, I listened to that one back in the day.
I mean, I'm a huge proponent of Audible. I love listening to Quit Lit or really any book. But did you know, Squad, that you can use our discount code to get a free month of Audible? Meaning you get a free book if you sign up.
That's right. Just go to audibletrial.com/Seltzer Squad and get a free month on us. I actually just signed up myself using it.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Matthew.
Hey, Matthew.
Hey, girls.
Today,
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to interview you. So Squad, we have, is it Matthew Simpson, but you came into Zoom with a different name, but it's Matthew Simpson, right?
I mean, that is my last name,
okay.
Yeah, but via social media, you would know me as Matthew Lawhon.
Okay. He is a guest on the amazing television show on Showtime and Hulu, Couples Therapy. Is it just Showtime? I saw it on 2 networks.
I think it depends on your
few
Hulu
networks
subscription.
now. I actually just, right. And then Spain picked it up too. So, I mean, it's on all different kinds of networks at this point.
Okay. He's an international television star. And he was on the show Couples Therapy, which for those who haven't seen it, I'm probably going to butcher this and you can correct any of my ill representation, but it's about a New York City psychologist who does couples therapy, and a few couples agreed to pull the curtain back. And of course I was into the show because I'm studying psychology and want to be a therapist. But fast forward to season 2, they had a sober guest on and I was like blown away that the sober community was being represented. And then what really like sealed the deal was that you tagged us in a photo with Orna and I like died inside. And I texted all of my friends.
It's true, she did.
And I was like, oh my God, I wonder if you would want to come on the podcast. And so I reached out to you right away because I was like, I want to know everything about it. I want to know about your sobriety. I want to know about how you were so brave to come be on a show. Like, therapy is our number 1 tool that we recommend to people in recovery. And you were like pulled the fucking curtain back and had all of your sessions televised, which I don't know if I could be that brave. So I don't even know where to begin, but I guess we can start with your sobriety.
Well, Kate, I'm glad that I tagged you because I think you guys are amazing as well. And, that's how the power of social media, right? How we can all
Seriously
seem to connect relatively easily. So, yeah. But
okay.
Yeah, where do we begin?
So I think the thing I was unclear-ish about while watching the series was your timeline on getting sober and what that sort of looked like. Like, did you get sober? You got sober pre-pandemic, but then the show kind of led us into lockdown and the experience.
Yeah, so I did get sober prior to lockdown, but as we all know, lockdown has been quite the interesting beast for all of us through sobriety. But yeah, I definitely got sober before. And before the show, I did actually have a good amount of, my own therapy before kind of, joining forces with my partner on that television show. So I did have a little bit of background, a little bit of understanding of kind of who I was. And that is truly a process that you kind of discover right in therapy. I've lived several years, but didn't seem to know much about myself until I got into therapy.
Totally. So much of the couples therapy is obviously about the dynamic in the relationship. And in one of the early episodes, you guys discuss a trip that you want to take, which I find so relatable to everybody that is in early sobriety and sobriety just in general about the feelings of your partner's expectations and you wanting to go, but also kind of not wanting to go. And I mean, what did that dynamic look for you guys then? And what does it kind of look like now, maybe like post-therapizing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. As far as that, I didn't when I sober. I could have taken because I felt like I was doing it as as a brand new Matthew. So I was scared for myself, and whether it was with my partner or with friends or not, it was just a scary, leap to take in early sobriety. So, what you saw on the show was kind of me working through those emotions and that struggle of deciding, what can I do comfortably and safely in sobriety, and then what will I feel comfortable doing, in a new social setting and situation with people that I already care about, and then meeting people that I don't know, and how do I even act? I mean, there's so much that's raw and in early parts of sobriety that was really showcased on that particular episode. So, what it looked like then was frightening, and what it looks like now still sometimes is frightening. So you really have to build a safety net around you. And for me, what's really worked is having a plan, and voicing that plan, to someone who you feel really close to that you're gonna go out with or experience something with, anything socially. I voice it to him before we go out, and I kind of say, hey, if we're going to a bar, right? That in itself is like a leap. But if I am going to do that, I kind of say, hey, I'll go out at sunset. But then maybe when the sun goes down after the first bar, I'm going to kindly exit.
Before
So
gremlin hour
knowing
hits.
your boundaries. Exactly. Boundaries are very important, and I'm sure you guys know that as well. It's something that you will learn through therapy, which I did, and it's something that you really have to voice and follow. It's really important.
And so your partner obviously still drinks, but I
He does.
assume, is he like a normie?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I'm a normie drinker. I mean, sometimes he indulges probably a little bit more than he's supposed to, but he's
Sure.
definitely within the lines of,
Cool.
not crazy like we.
Yeah. And obviously, I assume he obviously supports you in your decision to not drink.
He fully supports that, and that would be the only decision he would support.
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you been sober for?
This go round 111 days.
Yay!
Congrats.
Just for context, everybody, Matthew is in Italy, and when he joined the call, it looks like he's on a Zoom background. He like like the sun is kissing his face. There's like beautiful terracotta buildings in the background.
Yeah.
He's living.
Well, our Patreon members can see this video,
Yes,
so they'll be able to see him.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Love that.
Was the experience of filming the show hard? I mean, I'm sure it was hard, but was it hard on your sobriety separate from your relationship?
So the experience on the show itself is you don't even realize it doesn't cross your mind when you're filming. There's a YouTube that I found that really showcases the kind of how the setup is, and it looks truly like her office. There's no sign of cameras. You can't see any of the cameras. I mean, you're mic'd in a very comfortable atmosphere with one of the producers that you're just casually talking and mingling before you go in, and they mic you up, and and then you walk into her office, and it's like you sit down on her couch and you just melt, and everything comes out. So the experience itself was just what I believe therapy is. It's a truly amazing experience, and very beneficial for, many reasons. So it was very comfortable. It was just a lot of processing emotions and feelings and, kind of our background. But then once it came out, that was a bit of a different experience.
Right, because you don't even realize it, right? Because there's not a huge crew, so it just feels like you're casually talking to your therapist, and then it's like on the internet, well, on the TV, and you're like, oh, right,
Fucking everyone can see this.
fuck, yeah.
Yeah. Orna was really good to take the time and watch some of the episodes with us via Zoom, because at that time, I was I was actually in a different country than he was, and so she was very good to do that and kind of be able to process that a little bit more, because, like I said, once the show's over and then once it airs, you're, all bets are off.
So walk me through once it
You gotta roll
airs,
with it.
like what happened? Like, did anything insane happen to you? Like psychologically, was it stressful? Like I feel like that would be such a mind fuck.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's some good parts, which we'll probably get to in regards to being able to watch it over again, and because we quickly forget all of the tools in our toolbox, right? But it was a mind fuck, to be very honest, and it was difficult on my sobriety, and it was something that I had to pay very close attention to, and ultimately, as some of us do, I did have a relapse, and I do contribute some of that, factors to kind of what played out. And the biggest concern for me personally was the emotional stress that it had on my family. And there's an episode in there that talks a lot about my trauma from the past in regards to coming out with family, and my father specifically being very physical with me in regards to me being homosexual, and thinking that I was a child molester and not being able to be near the kids in my family.
Oh my God.
It's very traumatic. And the family still to this day doesn't really acknowledge it. And they won't, there hasn't been an apology. So there's a lot of things that came up, and it kind of blew over. So,
because then they feel like you're airing their laundry too, their dirty laundry too.
Of course.
I assume.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My brother doesn't even talk to me because it's all against him,
Yeah.
as if the
That was like
experience was against him.
one of when the first, I think it was like the first episode of our podcast came out, and I'm very forthcoming about everything. I was like, yeah, I did coke and this and that, and one of my dad's second cousins told my mom, and my mom called me and was like, why the fuck would you tell everyone that you did coke and this? And it's just like, bitch, it's not about you. And I feel like that is probably, it's just people get so worried about their own fucking selves that it's oh, maybe you could be like, hey, how can I help? How can I support you? But I don't know.
Yeah.
People are just so worried about themselves and what they look like. It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely. I mean, it is very much what they look like, and somehow the experience became about them. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's going to be mentioned. I was just giving you respect and telling you kind of some of the stuff that came out.
Yeah, a heads up.
Well, and it ends up being one of the reasons why you drank, right? It's denying a part of your experience in your life that is ultimately extremely damaging, and to not, I've found I can relate to that on, obviously not as many levels, but I come from the Midwest. My family is very everything is fine. We don't talk about our problems. We don't acknowledge things. Everything is good. And I think for a long time, I wasn't able to really voice if I had an issue or if I had a concern, because it would be sort of washed over as it's not a big deal. Even to this day, my dad has, reached out to me a handful of times, and he won't really address my sobriety directly. He'll address it very indirectly. And I don't know if that's because part of him feels responsible or it's too hard for him to talk about, but it's the same, like, I don't know if there's part of me that's waiting to be acknowledged and to be congratulated, but I know now that so many years have passed that I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to get that. And I had to sort of let that go, but I'm still allowed to have my experience and talk about it if I fucking want to, you know?
I love everything you just said. I mean, I can relate to so much of that. And, just the whole let's sweep it under the rug idea of growing up in that kind of environment is just so difficult and hard and straining and impactful, right? I mean, honestly, I believe very strongly that in silence, wounds deepen. And this process for me has been a huge coming out experience, far better than me coming out of the closet. And, just letting all of this out and telling my truth in regards to, just my sobriety and my journey, it's so powerful, and it's been extremely, extremely helpful.
Yeah, part of what I related to you about in the show was, I mean, even when we started the podcast, I was extremely afraid about coming out as sober and what that would mean for my relationships and my family and myself and what people thought. And, I thought you did it so, you spoke in such a real way. Like, it was so relatable about, not only being brave enough, like, really it took about 6 months of even doing the podcast before I kind of like felt pride because of it. Cause it's been something that having this issue and this problem for so long has made me feel so ashamed for so long. And just like letting it out has been so freeing. And I feel like it was really talking about this area of my life. Not only did it help other people, but it also sort of let me out of my own cage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, like I said, it's a very powerful thing, and it definitely allows you to grow and, repair a lot of those wounds.
So if you're comfortable with it, I want to talk a little bit about your relapse, because I feel like it must be in some way related to the release of the show and the pressures. And, my curiosity lies, like, in a show like that, do you feel like people take sides, and did you care about that, or did that even happen? Because it was like me watching all the episodes, it was like, on the one hand, like, I think it was one of the couples where I was like, oh, this woman is just like absolutely detestable. And it was obviously because there were things that I'd see in myself that I didn't like that I saw in her. So I'd find myself like being on her side, and then I'd find myself being on his side. And it was like, obviously with your situation, it was no question, because it's like I sympathize with the sober person. But in every dynamic, I was able to sort of relate to one person or the other, or sometimes just Orna, And I wonder if that created any friction in your real life.
Yeah, no, that's also a great question. I was very concerned about that because, I, like you kind of touched on earlier, it's, being sober and being like, this was like a docu-series, right? It was nothing about a scripted reality show in which, just pulled out all the drama. I mean, it was the real deal, and people can pick sides, right? And, that went around in my head, but ultimately I knew that for me, the best thing to do is just to let it all out. And fortunately, I had a lot of support, not even from people that are sober, just people that just, I don't know, they clinged on to it, and they felt compassion for the situation. And that was really touching to me, because I thought, if anything, I'll definitely get some sober, friends out of this, or, compassion from other sober fellows. But no, I mean, it was across the board, and it was very genuine. So there wasn't really much side picking. But as far as the relapse, that is some gush, and I haven't really talked about that outside of, it's funny. I've done some podcasts in regards to the show, and it's all been aired, but this is a new one for me. So I'm glad that you're kind of asking, because it is good to talk about, the rough parts. Um, yeah, I immediately went back to old habits, right? I went right back to hiding it and denying it, and it was bad. And for those out there that think maybe I'm not an alcoholic, or maybe I'm not an addict, right? Or
Mhm.
our our mind starts fucking with us and telling us, oh, I've been sober this long. It wasn't that bad, right? Shit. It was that bad. And it got that bad that quick. And it was like I was right back in it. It was unbelievable. And the really unfortunate thing about it is that, towards the end of the couples therapy on Showtime, there was a like a episode where we were really discussing kind of whether Johnny was going to go to Italy. And during all of COVID and the pandemic, there was the travel bans and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I had to kind of come out to Italy to be able to see him and to reunite. And as it gets as bad as coming to Italy, where his family is, where all he asks is just please stay sober, I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I was, I would walk the dog, right? And I would go and drink. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's sad and it's frustrating and it's hard and it's all of those things. And, you know, it's all the feelings, right?
But
All
talk
the
to me
Yeah.
feelings.
about getting back on the wagon, because I think like relapse is so normal. Like it's not talked about enough that it's like that shit happens. Like Jess did it. We get tons of emails every single day about people in that spot of the relapse, and I don't know how some can come through on the other side and some aren't able to for, a certain amount of time. But what gave you the courage to come back to day one or day whatever if you chose not to like start over?
Right. You mean start over as far as day count?
Yeah, and like come back to sobriety. Like what was it? I mean, for me, my life slowly became more unmanageable after a year of being sober. I thought I was cured and then thought I was normal again, so started drinking, and then it escalated probably 8 months into like casual drinking. Things started to get really fucking wild again. And for Jess, it was like, she had a real crash landing into sobriety, and she was sober for a long time and then decided she didn't want to be sober anymore, and her relapse was like a little lighter, where she was like, yeah, no, I'm going down a road I don't want to go down. I have to have a crash landing. Like I really respect that Jess was like noticing that she was heading down a path and was able to course correct.
Yeah. I also applaud you, Jessica, for just having the decision to, like, for me, it wasn't even a decision. I don't even know. It was like one day there I was drinking, and I
Yeah.
still look back and try and, because I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out, and how did I get back to that place? But
It's real
how I
easy
got,
to. It's real
yeah,
easy to. I was just at a restaurant and like there was a cocktail on the menu that, when I was drinking, I would always get. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I want it. Like I've been sober for almost a year. I'm sure I can do it. And then you're a drinker again. Like it's how it goes. So I hear
yeah,
you.
yeah. So as far as getting back, I mean, there, I guess, just like responsibility and accountability. Like, fortunately, I have two people in my life that really support and care and worry and are there for me in regards to sobriety, and that is my partner and my mother. So, I mean, there was a lot of expectation there and a lot of things that I could have lost. And and then for me, I get really sick. So my body really depends upon alcohol when I'm using.
Mm.
And if I don't have it at a consistent, pace, my body will you know, pretty much immediately go into withdrawals.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
at that point, it becomes a medical issue. So
Yeah, that's scary.
yeah, it is scary. It is scary. So, I immediately started an outpatient program, and it is all Zoom right now. So, has its pros and cons, right? But yeah, I mean, this would be my second outpatient program that I've done, and I think therapy, and I think it's something you just got to dive right back into, and
100%.
yeah. And I'm not starting over.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm starting over. I'm picking up where I left. I mean, I still have all of those tools in my toolbox that I've learned throughout therapy, and I just got to remember that I have them and apply them every which way I can.
What did you learn
like what
this
you
time
said.
that's different from the first time that you quit drinking? Because I'm sure you had some sober success, right? So there's like the milestones that you're like, okay, I know. Was there, like we recently just recorded an episode on anger where it's like, I think a lot of my early sober years were spent thinking like I was going to get somewhere. And then I realized that there was no there. Like my life was just overall 65% better without alcohol in it. But like I still had shitty days.
Absolutely. Still have shitty days, and life still gets lifey, right? I what did I do differently? I got a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else to talk to, someone else to check in with, someone else to check in on me. Accountability is a huge thing for me. And something that really worked for me the first go round that I had to, really get back on and stay focused on is a schedule. My first time I got sober, as bad as it is, I literally had to have a schedule. Brush my teeth at this time, like I can only watch this much TV at this time. Have breakfast, have lunch at this time. This is my time for laundry. Like, break it down, because I was that far gone. But getting back on
That's
a
smart,
schedule
though.
and having,
Yeah.
it really is. It's the simple things sometimes that we just quickly lose track.
People always ask us, like, I'm so bored when I quit drinking. Like, what do I do? And we're just like, keep busy, keep busy. And I never even thought about making yourself a schedule, because that is what a genius thing. Why have I never thought
Yeah,
about
that seems like a no-brainer now that he said it out loud.
Yeah. So stupid, but yeah, okay. I feel like an
Yeah.
idiot. That's fine. It's fine.
No, I mean, it was something that someone said to me, my first time getting sober, and I'm like, wow, schedule. Yeah,
Like,
schedule.
who?
That's exactly what I need. And it works. And, I share it. And that's the other beauty of being in like a sober circle and having sober friends, is like all of the things that we get to learn that are just so like, we should know that.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's been good.
And it helps you fill that time, because time expands when you're sober and minutes feel like years. And so if you have something to apply that to, that's like we always have a lot of people that are like, I don't have any hobbies. And it's like, okay, well, just write down a list of 10 things that you like, random 10 things. It could be like whales, like go down the list, start Googling the things that you like. And then like now you're engaged in a hobby, and then take it the next step, or then like go on a whale watching fucking boat. Like, I don't know. That's what I didn't know what they were either. I had to sort of figure it out, because I only used to just go meet people for drinks, or drink at home,
Right?
or clean and drink, or watch TV and drink. So yeah, I had to figure that out. And that's part of the battle, is like, I guess you leave your comfort zone of your routines and have to, seek out things that actually are a little bit more fulfilling. But that's scary. Jess, what's our number one piece of advice when people are getting sober?
Therapy.
So much therapy that I'm going to school to be a giver of therapy.
This is true.
BetterHelp reached out to partner with us at the Social Squad to offer 10% off a monthly membership to BetterHelp.com.
What is BetterHelp.com?
BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that is for individuals, for couples. You take a short quiz, you get matched up with a mental health professional, and you, through the app, are able to video, or you can just message back and forth with a licensed professional to give you counseling and guidance on anything and everything that you're going through.
So how do our listeners use our code?
You just go to betterhelp.com/Seltzer Squad and you'll receive 10% off your first month.
Hey, Kate, what's another way that the squad can help support the podcast?
In addition to just listening or signing up to our Patreon, y'all can shop our online merch store, which has a variety of different sober treats, from mugs to sweatshirts to tanks and tees.
Everything.
All of our signature sayings are all over our sober merch. So visit seltzersquadshop.com and check it out.
Treat yourself to something sober while supporting the pod.
And I definitely feel like there has to be, at least for me, I have to have a substitute for the alcohol, right? I mean, you have to replace it with something. That's probably the addict in me, right? But there's definitely, sober ways to replace it with.
Yeah, what does that look like for you?
What does that look like? That looks like, a community. A sober community is really important, and I think a lot of my use comes from loneliness and from boredom.
Yes.
They're kind of one and the same, but yeah, I don't know what it looks like for you guys, but
Yeah.
when I get lonely, my brain starts to drift to places of filling voids in which I've filled so many years with alcohol that.
Are you a
You're
Pisces? 'Cause
Yeah, I was
I feel like-
definitely thinking that too.
I'm like, that's me.
A Taurus, if you were really
Okay.
I drank because I felt lonely for sure. I think there's I gave myself some sort of black sheepness, I'm sure, where I felt like, even still sober, I feel lonely in a crowded room. I feel lonely on Christmas. There's still a hole inside of me somewhere that has that, and I don't know if I've just learned to live with it. I don't know. I don't think that it will honestly ever go away. I feel like there's a realist lonely person that lives inside of me somewhere that maybe I'm just incapable of being happy. And I think before I used to drink to avoid that sort of conclusion where I would be you'll never be happy. So I would want to escape that feeling and shove it down more. And then the more drunk I got, the more social I was, even if it was just surface level, interactions with people, and I would party. And it was so that I didn't have to be by myself and be alone with my loneliness. But my loneliness still exists. It's just that I guess I'm more at peace with it.
Yeah. Yes. I really have to. I think about that too. What is it that I'm able to do now? Why am I able to sit with myself now? And that's been a struggle for me. Is how I have to get comfortable enough with myself to really be able to push through those moments of loneliness. And it is those moments that are the hardest
Mm-hmm.
to be I'm sure that I have someone I can call.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those moments, but all those triggers and all of those moments where we really are supposed to pick up the phone and call another sober friend. Right?
Yeah.
Those are tricky parts.
I think even just in talking to you now, I feel like a little bit of my loneliness comes from a place of wanting to be seen, in, I don't know what way, I'm sure some psychological way, and drinking to escape that feeling. I now don't drink to escape that feeling, and I have it, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's sad to say I don't think it'll ever go away, but I also feel comfortable kind of setting those expectations for myself.
Yeah.
Drinking wasn't going to fix that. It would still be there,
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I guess that what they say is the joy of being sober is that we can actually feel things.
Yeah,
The
unfortunately.
joy/curse.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
We feel so many
That's because,
things.
like, fuck that.
Yes.
I
Well, we have a few more questions to ask, but before I ask the rapid fire, I think we need to add this to our list, Jess, because we talk about it in every episode, but I want to ask you, what are some of your boundaries that you have? We're big on boundaries around here.
That's a hard question.
Boundaries, just in all contexts.
I would say like sober
Or, like,
boundaries.
to stay sober. Well, there's my boundaries, and they fluctuate. They're different. I think that large groups, during early parts of sobriety, like large groups of people that are all using or all drinking, can be a little overwhelming for me. And knowing that it's overwhelming, I shouldn't do it, right? And that's just what a boundary is. And sometimes I just have to say that to myself. Like, even when you said that right then, I was like, overthinking, right? A boundary is simple. It's just something we're not comfortable with, that we can acknowledge and say, that's not best for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
It could be okay in the future, but right now, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
That would be an example of something for me right now.
What's next on the list, Jessica? I don't have it in front of me. It's like
Oh,
they
the
get a little
rapid-fire
lighter.
questions?
Like, what's your favorite seltzer?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have a couple. The number one question that people ask is, how do you make friends in sobriety? Do you have any tips for that?
God, I wish I did.
Right? Don't we all? This is why we ask people, because we also want to know. Like,
yeah, tag hot chicks on Instagram. I don't know.
Instagram honestly is, like, I feel like no joke, the best place to meet other sober people. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
because you can creep their life first before you reach out.
right? Do I really want to be friends with them?
You can overthink it first.
Yeah, listen. Maybe someone else has the answers for this, but had I truly gotten sober during 2020, that would be difficult. So I don't know how anyone did it, because in-person meetings for me have always been, and not even like, not a shout out to AA, but just like, for me, like, more of the meetings that or groups that allow you to kind of provide feedback and crosstalk, right, if you will, is helpful for me, because it does allow you to build relationships, and those are truly beneficial for us. So
yeah, that's a good
Sweet.
answer.
Our favorite question is, and you don't have to answer it, but do you have a hot mess story that you'd like to share?
God, I feel like all of mine are just messes.
Right.
Maybe let's come back to that.
Well, there's the girl that ate the succulent, and I don't know if any of us can ever top that she went to dinner with her friend and she ate the plant on the table because she was hammered. And I just don't know if you can, I don't think anyone can top it.
Without the dirt in her teeth. Oh my God. Well, where can everybody find you?
If you
on
want
the
them to find
socials,
you.
online. Yeah, if you want them to find you. Exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely. On Instagram, on Twitter, it's all the same. It's Matthew with 2 T's. Somehow, people like to lose one with the full name. But no, it's Matthew Lawhon, which is spelled Lawhon.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Okay, wait. I have the last question I remember. It's the best one, too. What is the best thing that you've encountered? Like, what's been the best part about sobriety for you?
My health. I unfortunately was one to really have some health issues when I was, drinking at its worst. I was in and out of the hospital, for reasons like, no doctor could figure out when I wasn't like way crazy intoxicated. But I remember going to the hospital one time and trying to walk down the stairs and just not having full control of my leg. So
Damn.
it can get scary. And so yes,
Good.
that is a great
Crazy.
part of sobriety. Right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Being
for
able to
spending.
walk.
Yes, totally. Right. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Yes, thank you.
And I hope that we
So glad
talk
to
to you
be
again
here.
too. I hope we talk to you again soon, and have a great time in Italy. Tell Gianni we said
seriously.
hi.
Bye.
And we will talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. Bye,
Good talking
Matthew.
to you.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Every review helps other listeners find us. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Kate Sander. For show notes and resources, check out seltzersquad.com.